Hello, 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 everyone. What is going on? James here, and welcome back to another edition of the Banterous Hour with one of the co hosts, Mr. TGC himself, Liam.
I love it.
And today we will be reviewing Witness, a 1985 film featuring Harrison Ford. So I'll just say my first impressions. I watched the film twice. I watched it a few months ago and watched it again the other day. Um, to be honest, I preferred it on my second viewing, really. To be honest, but I'll say what my first impressions were. I thought, all right, Harrison Ford is on the front cover. It's going to be one of his badass films. It'll be as cool as The Fugitive. And I sat down and I thought, what's going on? Why is there? I mean, I even read the synopsis for the film. It was a young Amish boy witnesses a murder, and now he's the witness. So the first thing that happens is that a bunch of Amish people are at a funeral, and then two Amish people, Samuel and can't remember the German lady's name.
I think it's
Basically,
Rachel,
oh, cheers, thanks.
I think.
So Rachel, they're going on the train to Baltimore, um, and you're like, oh, okay, so we've just had this funeral. Where's Harrison Ford? What's going on? Well, he's probably going to witness the murder soon because I've seen it in the synopsis. And it was actually quite brutal, to be honest. You know, the bloke's just washing his hands in the toilet, and then Danny Glover, who's usually a good guy in film, so it's interesting to see him as a bad guy, slices the dude's neck. Um, yeah. So one dude puts a bag over this cop's head, and then Danny Glover slices the bloke's neck, which is pretty brutal. And then you think, crap, they're going to open the door and see the kid there. This is a bit scary. But the kid outsmarts him at the last second, gets underneath the door, and Danny Glover is like, "Oh, no one's there. Oh, okay." But he doesn't. He doesn't think. Let's check the other door quickly, just in case. Just in case he just goes, oh, "Okay, forget it." But no, that would have been a bit of a boring film if he'd found the kid and then kidnapped him, or even worse, shot him. That would have been horrible. So, yeah. And then after that, Harrison Ford does roll up, and yeah, he's like, "Your kid's a witness. We need to take him with us. You're a witness too." Well, sorry, just the kid's a witness. So both Rachel and Samuel have to come with John Buck, played by Harrison Ford. And I suppose my first impressions of the film, I sort of just think like, I don't know. I guess all this, I suppose the funeral stuff. It would have been a bit weird if we just seen like the two Amish people in a train station. We'd be like, why are they dressed like this? Why is this boy in a black big round hat? What's going on? But showing the Amish funeral, it explains, that they're Amish and what they do. And yet, at this point in the film, Harrison Ford's driving off with them in his car and trying to figure out who's done what. I don't know if you want to say your first impressions of the first 15 minutes of the film.
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I liked, the start. I mean, I suppose, like you said, I guess showing the Amish funeral just helps to sort of um, set up their presence in the film, I guess, and I guess perhaps not just sort of throw you into the thick of it with the film starting with just, I don't know, say with Rachel and what's the kid's name again? Sorry.
Samuel.
Yeah, Rachel and Samuel, just in the train station, and then him witnessing that murder. But yeah, I don't. I guess I just like the start of it and just the cinematography, just of the fields and the soundtrack um, and yeah, I guess just how it sets up the plot, how it sets up the film, and yeah, like you said, that I thought that murder was pretty brutal as well, but yeah, the kid outsmarted him, and which is fair enough. It shows. To be fair, this kid is. I don't know. He might be. I don't know. Amish. He's not. Familiar with. You know, um, the other world or whatever, like they refer to in the film. But it shows that he's not. He's not stupid. He's smart, really. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid start to the film.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right there. He is quite a smart kid, and it's interesting how well he adapted to the situation when he's never really been in the outside world. So you got to respect him a lot there. So yeah, Harrison Ford has to take Rachel and Samuel away. He's like, all right then. I don't know what we're gonna do. We'll get you a train. Don't worry. Um, and basically, Samuel says, the bloke's tall who did it, and also he's a black dude as well. So Harrison Ford went to a bar and he got a tall dude and pushed him against the window, and then he's like, "Is this the guy? Is this the guy?" And then Samuel was like, "Nah." And then he let him go, and the dude's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it, man. The dude might have been thinking, oh,
Mm.
if it's a dude who's in the crime game, which I'm guessing that dude was because Harrison Ford got that dude out of that bar and said, look, it's this guy. Is it this guy? So maybe he was thinking, oh, is he getting me for a different crime escapade, or is he just after me for the sake of it's what's going on? But then he's just laughing it off. Usually criminals in films like gangsters or mafia people get really angry if someone's trying to like falsely accuse them. But it's refreshing to see some dude just like laugh it off. That was pretty funny. And then he takes Samuel and Rachel to his sisters. And yeah, he what happens after? Oh yeah, he's giving his sister a talking to. He's like, oh, you got a man in the house. For goodness sake, you got a man in the house, and your kids are sleeping upstairs. What are you doing? And then she's like, leave me alone, leave me alone. And then that was pretty funny. So it's interesting how John is trying to take such a big interest in, you know, like her life, even though he is just a workaholic cop. But he's like, oh, he's so interested in her kids. And the thing is, she even mentions, how John, Rachel tells John that his sister said, "Oh, you don't." She says you don't want any children because that you don't want the responsibility, but you act like you're a father to her children. So that's an interesting arc for John Book to go on. Like he's got basically the whole film. It seems like he's trying to adapt to a different lifestyle, but at the same time he I don't know. It's like he's got to adapt to this different lifestyle, but it's like he's becoming a proper adult. He's already an adult, but like he's becoming a family man now. And Rachel's also trying to adapt to his lifestyle as well. His more outside Western lifestyle. Like with technology and cars and all this cool stuff. So that's definitely an interesting thing that he has to overcome. And she goes on an interesting arc as well for her to like become more free, I guess, and more free spirited and having more of a laugh. The only thing I think is a bit weird is how the film ends, and I guess we can get to that later. It just sort of feels very abrupt, and it feels like everything goes back to stage one, like it goes back to how everything was at the start of the film. And I understand that a lot of films do that, but I feel like all the character development was somewhat undone, and it was like the whole film was kind of for nothing. It just feels very abrupt, the ending. But anyway, there's a really good scene where Samuel points out Danny Glover's character, which I just can't remember the dude's name in the film, unfortunately.
No,
I can't remember the dude. I can't even remember the other dude's name, the other corrupt cop.
I can't remember.
The other two corrupt cops. I can't remember their names now. Ginger guy, one, but all three of them are very tall. One's ginger, one's grey hair. I can't remember the other people's names. But yeah, anyway, he points out the dude, and it's like, oh crap, that dude wasn't just some random thug. He was actually like a well-credited police officer. That's very interesting. And yeah, so after that, they get in a little shootout, and it's quite a funny scene where the little old lady's like, "Wait, open the elevator. That's our car." And he's like, "I don't care. Get back in. Get back in, wifey." And he's like, "You idiot! Shut the elevator." That was brilliant. Oh, that just made me laugh. That made me laugh so much. That scene did. I thought, what is going on? Why does she care that much about a car when it could be getting shot and destroyed anyway and lose a lot of its worth? So, but you shouldn't risk your life for a load of money anyway. What's the point? So that was very, very funny. Um, oh, what else was there? Oh yeah, but then he drives off, picks up Samuel and Rachel. Then they go to the Amish community. But yeah, what did you think of all those scenes, Bossman?
Yeah, again, I liked. Yeah, I suppose I just liked a lot of it. It was just more sort of. I guess it's kind of more sort of plot development and character development, and I sort of like as well how um, when Samuel's in the police station with John, um, he just goes up. He goes on a bit of a wonder, doesn't he? There's the
Yeah,
I think there's that woman who's trying to get him to go over to her to see if he wants this like cookie or something.
yeah.
And then he doesn't want it, and he walks off, and then he encounters that criminal who's
Who's going
cuffed to the chair.
with the
Yeah, he's trying to scare him.
yeah, with the
Yeah,
handcuffs.
and then he's looking at the cabinet of the. I think it has all the like police sort of like awards in and honors or whatever. And then he spots Danny Glover. And were you going to say something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, you described it very well there. It's so interesting how it builds up to that. He doesn't just see the Danny Glover picture and say, "Oh, that's the guy." Loads of different things happen as you explain. So that was that honestly had me like, damn. So this dude's actually like a cop. He's a corrupt cop. Damn.
Yeah, and I'd like as well how the kid's looking at the photo of him, and then he's looking over to John, and then John's like he was on the phone, but then he doesn't take him long to notice the kid, and he's sort of what he's trying to signal at, that he's sort of looking at him to come over and without drawing attention, I suppose, in a way,
Yeah.
which I thought was good. I liked that, and so then he comes over, and then he sees that so he's the one we're after. He's the
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. And I like how that sergeant, not sergeant, the sergeant, the one who's actually, I need to look up the characters' names actually. Let's have a look. Where is he? Carter, Sergeant Carter. That's it. Yeah, he was cool. I wish that there was more scenes with him and Buck. To be honest with you, because they bounced off each other very well. Brent Jennings and Harrison Ford. Yeah. But anyway, so Harrison Ford drives off in the car. Then he's like, "I need to go. See you later. Otherwise, pardon me, if I stay here, they'll find Samuel." And then he drives off and crashes into that bird hut. And I'm like, bloody hell, that was a bit, that
Oh
was a
yeah,
good. It looked a bit comical, but
that
it was
went well.
filmed quite well. Considering it was like one
Yeah.
long shot, that was actually pretty well done. They probably only had one take at doing that, to be honest. So that was actually quite well
Mm.
done. Yeah, so they have to they have the moral dilemma. Do we keep him here? Do we take him to a hospital? Well, the tall bloke, I think I need to look at his name. Yeah, Eli Lapp. So the tall bloke, Eli is like, no, we need to get him to hospital now. and then Rachel's like, but they will find Samuel if we don't nurse him back to health. And then he's like, all right, then let's get this doctor in. And yeah, but the thing is, they've still got a dilemma because if he dies, then they're gonna have to bury him, and eventually they're gonna come snooping around. Well, maybe people won't. Actually, they're gonna struggle to find him because I love the scene because this film's very well written. Because obviously that chief, I'm gonna look at his name now. Schaefer, that's it. So Schaefer's like, oh well, I just come on, help me out here, High Commissioner, or I don't know who it was, or it might have been another sergeant. He was like, help me out here. Help me find John Book. I need to bring him in for questioning and talk to him. Blah 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 blah. La di da di da. And he's like, yeah, but there's about like hundreds of like Amish communities in the whole state. What do you expect me to do? How are we going to find them? What, search everyone? I can't spare the police. I can't spare the amount of police we have just to focus on your little case that you're not giving me any real details for, and you're not telling us what John has actually done to break the law. And then, and then he's like, "Oh," and then he's like, "I mean, I will phone them, but they don't use any phones, you plonker." He's like, "Oh, thank you very much," and just put the phone down. So it's really well written out. It makes sense how they can't find him because yeah, because there's so many Amish communities. And I like how this is a film that's actually about Amish people. We don't really see them sort of like mocked in like shows like Family Guy. I thought that episode was rubbish, the Amish episode of Family Guy, but I don't see them in that many forms of media. And to be honest, it's quite difficult to like write an Amish story. So I suppose it's nice that we've got this fish out of water story, and I think it's definitely one of the better fish out of water stories that I've watched, because a lot of them, it tends to be the outsider struggles with all this stuff and everyone's like, don't do this, don't do that, you're a fool. But then he adapts to things and he's actually decent. Obviously, he's not good at milking the cow's teeth because he's like, have you not milked the teeth before? And he's like, no, I'm this big. And then
there's a little delayed reaction.
Yeah. So all that's really cool. And he's good at carpentry because he's a carpenter. So in some aspects, he's a help. He's a help to the community. But they obviously lay the law down with certain things. Like when Samuel's messing with his gun, Harrison Ford's like, "No, give it me back. You can't mess around with this gun. This is dangerous, man." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, then. But you can mess around with it now that there's no bullets in it." And you get to hear the Amish. You get to hear Eli's perspective, because he's like, "Look, this gun is for taking life. We don't take life. That's only up to God." And that's an interesting way of getting their beliefs across. So that's pretty cool. What else does he do? Oh yeah, they build the house together, which is really cool. With that little montage, a bit like a interesting little music video type thing going on. It's just all of them getting together, building that big. I think it's a house or a barn. Pretty cool.
It's a barn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be a barn. Barns are easier to put together than houses in a day, aren't they? So.
But they had a lot of people doing it too.
They did, yeah.
Everyone pitched in.
For sure. There was one. There's a little gripe I have with the film. Obviously, I was going to talk about the ending later in more detail. But yeah, a little gripe I have. I wish they'd used Viggo Mortensen a bit more, because if you go on Viggo Mortensen's profile acting, this was not the highest on the list. But like, he's the fourth. If you look across, he's like 1, 2, 3, the fourth actor there, and he hardly says anything. The only lines he speaks are in bloody German. But like, if you look, okay, to be fair, there's a lot of other films before The Witness, so okay, I can't be too annoyed. But like, still, if he's like one of the main actors on there, and he's in Carlito's Way as well. I've watched that. I can't even remember what he did in Carlito's Way. He was Lalin. I don't know. I'll have to look at that another time. I don't know. I just wish they'd used him more. He's a good actor, Maybe he just wasn't that big that then. So Peter Weir, or whatever his name is, thought, nah, let's not bother bloody using him that much. And I guess he played his part in the story. There's no point in having people in there just for the sake of it. And I mean, to be fair though, now that I think about it, Samuel didn't get that many lines, but I think for a kid actor to not get many lines is probably best, especially one as young as Samuel's actor. He just sort of observes, and that's what kids do. Well, that's what you do when you're a kid. You just sort of observe the adults talking, and they like react and tell you what you're doing right and wrong to try and help you. So that was a good way to not put too much acting pressure on him, but also make his kid performance better.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that helps. Yeah. So his character well.
Yeah, I like the bit where I wish his sister was in it a bit more, to be honest, as well. I don't know why. I don't know. I wish we just had some sort of scene at the end where he used to see her or something. I don't know. But I guess it ended pretty well with him driving off in that car and Schaefer getting arrested. So there you go. But yeah, a lot of the film just sort of consists of him like learning about Amish life and being a bit of a help, but sort of being a bit confused at their ways and sometimes not fitting in. Like when he goes, "This is great coffee," and then they're all just like, "What's this guy on?" And then he's like, "It's a joke, an advert, or well, a commercial, as they say in the States." I think this is an interesting part for Harrison Ford as well, because if you think about a lot of his films, I mean, all the films that I've watched of his, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Patriot Games, The Fugitive, now this. I think I watched that one where he owns the dog. That was like the well, apart from Dial of
Oh
Destiny,
yeah,
Indiana Jones. It's about Buck the dog, the CGI dog.
it's called Call of the Wild, isn't it? I haven't
That's
watched
it.
it, but
Yeah, I think they gave it a crap review. I mean, I think if you're a dog person, you'll like it. Yeah, the review it's sort of got an average review. It's on Disney actually. Yeah, I went to cinema to see that one with my dad years ago.
hmm.
Yeah, that was an all right film. Um, yeah, I just thought it was very average, nothing special. But I don't know if you're a dog person, you'll like it. It's a bit nostalgic for me, I guess. I don't know. Well, not kidhood nostalgic, but nostalgic for other reasons, I guess. But yeah, it's a lot of his films are action. Like Patriot Games is very action. The Fugitive is very action. There was another. I swear I watched another one of his. If I just look it up, not Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Patriot Games, or where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, Blade Runner. That's the other one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
that
just going to
was
say, was it that? Yeah.
and Apocalypse Now, but he's only in the start of Apocalypse Now.
How is it? I haven't watched that, but okay.
I mean, I'm surprised GC likes that one. I thought he'd be absolutely bored off his head watching bloody Apocalypse Now. Like it's 3 hours long, man.
Is it? No.
I think it's a great movie. I don't think it's as good as like the reviewers say, but I thought it was a very great film. Probably like an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, if you'd be interested in watching it, I wouldn't mind us free doing a review. I don't
Sure.
know if you that would be cool down the line. Um, what was the? But yeah, Blade Runner. It's a bit like Oppenheimer to me because like that film, everyone thinks it's amazing, but I thought it was just like a bog standard good film, and I thought it was very bloody strange. The ending was weird. I was like cringing at some bits of the end, like not cringing as like this is weird. Like some bloke gets his eye gouged out horribly, and then sorry, are you gonna watch it?
Now I've watched Blade Runner.
Oh,
Yeah.
you watched it. You remember that bit like the bloke gets his eye gouged
Mm.
out by that villain,
It's quite.
and then I'm like, wait, this
Yeah.
is there not going to
Difficult.
be they weren't this violent in most of the film. Why they're suddenly being this gory and bloody like, ugh. And then Harrison Ford runs off, and there's a bunch of like mannequin dolls in this room, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And then he's hanging on an edge, and then the villain saves him and just starts laughing, and then runs off. And I'm like, what was the point of this film? What I meant to get from it? Was one of the most confusing odd endings I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, what was the point of that? What was the? I know it's meant to be like about the relics or whatever they're called, and like, are they real or are
Replicants.
they just robots? Replicants, that's it. Thanks.
Hmm.
And are they robots or are they real life humans and all this stuff and about humanity and consciousness and all that crap. But I just thought, like, what am I going to get from this film? Bloody strange, man. The ending.
Well, when you're comparing Blade Runner and Oppenheimer, the thing is, a Blade Runner, when it first came out, I don't think it reviewed it so well, and I think it was probably like controversial as well for different things.
What did
But
it
I think
do
it's
that
one of.
was contra?
I don't know whether it's just like the themes and like maybe some of the stuff that you just mentioned as well. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know the exact specifics, but um, I think it had like I don't know whether it was kind of difficult to make as well, or like I don't know whether it had a somewhat troubled production. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I think Harrison Ford nearly punched Ridley Scott and didn't want to work with him ever again. That's why he wasn't doing Blade Runner 2049. Ridley Scott, but I think Ridley Scott's a solid director. I don't know what the I don't know. But Harrison Ford hasn't had problems with other directors. Maybe they just didn't bloody mesh well together. I don't know.
I don't know whether it's just him or whether like other members of the cast had problems too. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it, but I'm
mm.
just little bits I've seen. But I think, like I said, I don't think it reviewed so well at first when it came out, but then I think over the years it's one of those films where it's sort of become a sort of cult classic, and it's become, well, one of those films that like a lot of people use now, or maybe even refer to in like film studies
Mm.
lessons and all stuff like that. And I think it's one of those films that's like it's you know seen as a a classic or
Yeah. Well, I'm reading.
masterpiece or whatever. But
Sorry to interrupt. I'm reading about their feud. I know this is completely off topic to The Witness, but it says Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford had created differences while filming Blade Runner in 1982, which led to a feud between the two. Main disagreement was over Ford's character, whether Deckard was a human or a replicant. Well, we don't get an exact answer, so I think Harrison Ford just being a bit pathetic here, to be honest with you. Ford disliked the voiceover narration, which he was contractually obliged to. What's the bro? You're an actor. Do what the director says. Like, unless he's getting you to do something like you're next level uncomfortable with, I don't get why an actor would bloody fall out with someone over bloody having to record a narration line. Like, at the end of the day, Harrison Ford is the actor. He's not the director. Do what the director says, and then you can bloody blame him if you don't like the film or whatever. You know, like if Harrison Ford wanted to be director, he should have been director. You can't be the main star and start getting pissed off. That it annoys me with some of these actors. It's like bloody Marlon Brando and bloody Edward Norton. When Brandau used to bloody, well, he was the sort of person that would get involved and say, you need to make the film like this and like this. And then Edward Norton completely rewrite the scripts. And I just think you're actors. If you want to bloody direct the films. You know what I'm saying? Like, just get someone else, man. Some of these people are just morons, bro. They just think just because they're the main star that they can bloody mess around with things and change the film all they want. But it's like, no, do what the director says. Unless the director's getting you to do something you're really uncomfortable with, there's no excuse for falling out with them.
I think there's 6 different versions of Blade Runner, and I think that voiceover was only in like 1 or 2 of the versions, like the first, like maybe the theatrical release and another one or something. Because in the final cut, which I imagine is the one you watched and the one I watched, that voiceover isn't there. I think they've removed that.
Oh,
so I think maybe him. I don't know about anyone else, maybe as well, or maybe a lot of people didn't like that voiceover, and I think apparently Harrison Ford's delivery in that voiceover is perhaps I think based off what I've read, it maybe sounds like he's not putting in the effort either because he wasn't on board with that voiceover. So,
and can I just say, and Ford thought Scott worked in a cold and uncaring way, and that he distanced himself from the cast and crew. I mean, I can't comment on that. That's just Harrison Ford's word. But the whole human and replicant, that why are you getting upset over that, man? Like, just grow up, bro. I don't know. But he's pathetic about Star Wars as well. He's like, oh well, John Boyega and Daisy Ridley, this is all they're known for now. Why does everyone watch Star Wars? He's like Patrick Stewart with the Star Trek, man. It's like, bro, when this is something that's made you big, just accept that this is what people like you for, man. Like, if it wasn't for Star Wars, then Harrison Ford wouldn't have done Indiana Jones, The Fugitive, Patriot Games, Apocalypse Now, etc. You know,
yeah, so he got his that's what got his big break. Like before that, he'd done a little bit of acting here and there, but it wasn't really going well. And then he had to go. I think he was doing carpentry or whatever, wasn't he? Carpentry, and then he managed to get the role in Star Wars, and the rest is history. So I don't know. It's really strange how he sort of feels that way about Star Wars and not really like any of the others, like even Indiana Jones, I think. So
yeah, I mean, Temple of Doom is average. The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in my opinion, was below average, and the Dial of Destiny was bloody shite. You know, like I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, man. I do understand actors being a bit pissed off about it, but like, and again, with the Patrick Stewart stuff in Star Trek, why doesn't he make these complaints about X-Men? You know, I don't get it, man. These actors I think they're just in a different world and they just get too big for their boots. Again, I'm not completely on the side of like directors and stuff because some of them can be twats, but like they've got so much crap on their shoulders that they have to deal with. But anyway, back to The Witness. But Harrison Ford seems like a cool bloke. I don't like. He's not one of the. He's one of the. Like, a lot of actors I think are a bit twatty and up their own arse. But like Harrison Ford does seem sound. It's just some of the stuff he says is a little bit like whack and silly. But yeah, back to The Witness story. So we get a bit where Harrison Ford and the Amish are being mocked by the American tourists, and yeah, they're just douchebags. They're just awful. And then he knocks Harrison Ford's hat off, and then he just went boom like that and beat the shit out of the bloke. And then the guy tries to get Harrison Ford, and he just batters that guy as well. And I just think, like, damn, what a chad. And then that lap is like, it's not our way. And then Harrison Ford's like, well, it's my way. You know, that was pretty badass. And to be honest, I don't blame him. Like, what if people are borderline assaulting you and like trying to prod ice cream in you, bro? If someone's prodding ice cream on my face, I'd say if you do that again, I'm going to punch you. Or if you do that again, I will have to retaliate. Then if they did it again, I believe hit them as hard as I can and say, this is what you've asked for, you know. Joke. So, you know, I just think it's horrible people there. But then it's interesting how that event led to actually no, I was gonna say if it was someone like the Mountain or Eddie Hall, I'd probably just run off. I'll probably back up. I probably wouldn't lamp them because they're just massive geezers. But if it's a normal sized person, then yeah, bam, bam. I'm not having that off them, thank you. But no, I'm not going to be a complete fool and say, oh yeah, if the Mountain blodges a bit of ice cream in my face, I'm going to say, I'll knock you out, mate. Like, granted, I did martial arts and grafted for all these years, but bro, like, if I try and hit the Mountain, first off, he's too tall, so I'm going to struggle to generate loads of power. I guess I can get him with hitting the balls, but the problem is I'm going to have to get close to him to hit him in the balls, and he can just grab hold of him. All he has to do, to most people, is grab onto him with one hand, squeeze slightly hard, and it's going to break something, and then you're just going to be injured and on the floor, and then he can just walk off. Or if you've really pissed him off, he can just kill you. So, but I don't think he'll kill. I don't think he's going to risk life in prison and horrendous publicity, and his legacy and his family life being flushed down the toilet just over blobbing ice cream in your face. I love where this tangent's gone to, like me taking on the world's strongest men who could just. But yeah, so that. But anyway, that event leads to.
That'd be interesting.
I mean, to be honest, I've said at work in front of everyone, if John Cena came up to me and said, I want to fight you, and he had no training, and he's had no training, let's assume he's had no training, I would batter him. And anyone who's done a fair bit of training would most probably, like, I've got enough strength to, like, hurt someone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got enough manpower, I've got enough man strength to hurt someone. Well, like, but if John Cena's done even, like, 2 months of constant training, he'd just whoop me because he's too strong. If he's done no training, doesn't know how to throw a punch, and I'm coming in with, you know, combinations and hooks and knees and elbows and all this stuff, bro, what's he gonna do? Like, granted, he could grab a hold of me, but I don't think he's strong. But you got to understand, the world's strongest men's strength can just crush you like that. While his strength, he's gonna have to go and then crush you. So I've got at least like 2 or 3 seconds to hit him as hard as I can. You know, well, with the world's strongest men, it'd just be instant. If they grabbed a hold of you, you just like crushed within like a second. But with John Cena, like, you've got time to try and do something. And also, he's the same height, so it'd be easier. But obviously, there's people who are too big, like the Big Show and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan in his prime would just bloody backhand me, and he's too big. And the Big Show is an absolute monster. He's in, I don't know what most fighters do. Like, most people haven't done a lot of training, or most people who are quite small, or people who did a lot of training, I don't know what they'd do against someone of that size. I guess they could just try and gas him out, I suppose. But again, if he just grabs a hold of you, you're going to be in big trouble. Anyway, yeah, back to the film. So Harrison Ford beats that guy up. He gets on the phone, and then the sergeant's like, or it might have happened before. I think it happened before. He rings him up, and he rings the police department, and Sergeant Carter's been killed. I would have kind of liked to have seen how they killed him to give a bit more animosity for the final battle, but it is what it is. And then he's like, whatever you did to Carter, I'm going to do to you, you asshole. And then he's like, John, I like your style. I like your style, man. Your style, I respect it. I respect you, John. And he's like, I'm coming for you, asshole. That was so cool. But because he beats those geezers up, that's how they find him. And then the final sequence is pretty good. It feels a bit rushed, but them throwing down is all right. I thought it was a bit out of character for him to have a complete breakdown. So, you're going to kill Samuel! You're going to shoot that man! Shoot me! You're going to shoot that guy! Ah! And now, Shaver!
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit, like, all that shouting, and even when, like, you know, when they're shouting at each other as well, where he has the chief or whatever has the gun to Rachel's head.
Yeah.
And Harrison, and they're both like, they just keep shouting, don't they? It's almost like gibberish, and like they're shouting over each other. Yeah, it's a bit usually? Like, yeah.
Like you've seen Die
It's almost
Hard.
unintentionally funny.
Yeah. Like you've seen Die Hard where like, Alan Rickman's like in the final sequence where Alan Rickman's got Bruce Willis's missus in the film, and then it's quite usually these scenes you can hear what they're saying and it's quite cerebral and like personal. This just seemed like something that I don't know, me, you, and GC filmed for a joke. What are you doing, James? George, don't you dare do that. George, you don't you mock MJs.
Yeah.
It was just too much. It was just like, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether they were going. I don't know whether. I don't know. I don't know whether maybe they were trying to go for a more sort of realistic. Well, you can say that realistic feel with it being like in the heat of the moment and tensions are high and everything. I don't know, but it just came across as came off sort of as like a bit sort of out of place and a bit unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
So
You think, but then Schaefer just gives up after he says, "You're gonna shoot him. You're gonna shoot me."
yeah, the kid and everything.
Yeah.
That
was just madness. And then, yeah, Schaefer gives up. I mean, you think he would have just shot John Book and then ran off, but yeah, there you go. I like how Lap doesn't hand him over to the police as well. He's just like, Book! And then he gets whacked by Danny Glover. I like the way the ginger dude gets killed. I like the way, all that corn gets dropped on him, or seeds, or whatever it was. He deserves it for being a
It's a
cop.
brutal death, to be fair. Yeah, and you get to see it, like they focus on it for a fair bit as well.
All his suffering and suffocating and saying, help. But he deserves it, bro. Like he was part of murders. Like screw that guy. He wasn't remorseful. He didn't say sorry. He didn't care. And same as Danny Glover. I wouldn't say got off easy. Like he wanted to mug off John Book, and then he gets shot, and he's like, ugh. And then he's dead.
He kind of ran. He literally ran into it, and he was just there. Like
you think he would have just stayed there and been like this, but instead he goes like a mad Call of Duty noob, and then goes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think, and then it's not explained why he leaves at the end. It's not explained at all. They don't have a conversation. He's just sort of like, right, goodbye, Rachel. See you later. And then Eli's like, watch out for them English. and then he's like, see you later, Samuel. And then he says goodbye to that blonde dude who looked like he had a thing for Rachel. And then that's sort of it. He just drives off. It's like no explanation. I would have preferred. This is what I would have done. Okay, I would have done it all as it was, but maybe made the film a bit longer, a few more back and forths. I would have had it so that Rachel decides to go with him in the end with Samuel, and they decide to live in like the Western world and whatever, instead of like living in the Amish world. That's what I personally would have done. And then she runs after him and says, John, I want to come with you with Samuel, and then they drive off and whatever. That's what I would have done, because then it would have felt like, although John Book's going back to his normal life, and that's back to the beginning for him, he's changed as a person. He's like got a family now. So that would have been, it would have felt more fulfilling watching it instead of just like the mad shouting, then nothing else, and then Schaefer gets arrested, then John drives off. I'm thinking like, well, what was the point? Okay, I don't really feel that fulfilled watching it. I'll give my quick rating. Just before you say what you want to say. I'd say it's a very good film, worth a watch. I'd say 7.5 out of 10. It could have been like great, but I just feel like certain bits were the unintentionally funny stuff I enjoyed, but I would have preferred, I don't know, I would have preferred if the ending wasn't so rushed. I would have preferred more stuff with John Book and his sister being in it as well. And I would have preferred the arc to come full circle, whether John Book decides to stay with the Amish or whether Rachel decides to go with John Book. I would have preferred that instead of just feeling like unfulfilled watching it at the end. But they had good chemistry, Rachel and John Book. That was great. Really enjoyed. It's worth a watch, and I enjoyed it more on a second viewing. So it's a 7.5 out of 10. A very good film.
Yeah, like you were saying, I think that could have worked. The ending that you just you said you would have done. I think, and I think that would have worked and would have been satisfying. I think it would have made sense as well. based on like the sort of the characters and the themes and the plot, and their development. I'm just trying to think of why he sort of went at the end. I guess I suppose I guess he just had to go, didn't he? I mean, I don't know, because he hadn't. He sort of like went off grid before when he went to stay with the Amish. I guess to like so they wouldn't be able to find him and kill like him and maybe even Samuel. And I guess at the end, I guess three of they were all killed, weren't they? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess there's he's gonna have to answer to them, isn't he? I guess to the higher ups, and
It would have been good if it could have been
whatnot,
explained and not just left open to interpretation. But yeah.
yeah. I mean, I made some other notes as well. So I already said, like, I like the soundtrack, the storytelling, cinematography. I mean, I don't think it's one of these films where it's like, some films, like they really go for the cinematography and they have some beautiful shots, and it doesn't necessarily go for that, even though I think it has some, nice shots and like of the fields and whatnot. Yeah, I thought the characters were compelling and intriguing. Yeah, I liked John Buck and Rachel, and Samuel. I guess how he was portrayed, as well as was he Rachel's father, the old man? I'm not sure.
I think it was her uncle, but I'm gonna look it up now.
Okay.
I've got a computer in front of me while we're going on my phone. Oh, she was Rachel's father-in-law. Because because the bloke who dies at the start, that was her husband.
Yeah.
Jan or Jan or Jan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it would make sense why he's. Oh wait, no, hold on. She was married to name Rachel. Ah. Oh, that was the bloke's. Oh, that was the actor's name, Jan. Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know. Whoever. No, it might have been Dan, her husband. I'm not sure. Anyway, point being, like, it makes sense for him to be a bit like wary of Harrison Ford, of John Buck.
Yeah, so I liked a lot of the characters, really. Yeah, I've just put here that it was interesting how a lot of the film follows John Buck living with the Amish and trying to fit in while gaining their respect in the process, which involves, a big part of that focus being a romantic relationship developing between John and Rachel. And what I thought was interesting is, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't his character called John in Blade Runner as well?
John what?
Was Harrison Ford's character called John in Blade Runner, like this film? Was it John
I can't
Deckard,
remember.
or was his first name different? I don't know.
Wasn't it Deckard?
Wasn't.
Oh yeah, but it might have been John Deckard. I don't know. I'll look it up quickly.
Deckard, yeah.
Blade Runner.
And then the replicant, who was his love interest in the film.
No, it's Rick Deckard, but
Rick. I was wondering if it was Rick. Okay.
Character called Rachel.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, but that love interest is called Rachel as well. Like in this film. Yes, there's a big focus on that, and I guess how there's a lot of sort of romantic tension, and how I guess seeing Harrison, like seeing John and his character, and I guess he sort of opens Rachel up to like new things that she hasn't experienced before, in his world, in the and I guess like he gets the radio working in his car and dances with her, and
Yeah, that's pretty
she's
wholesome.
enjoying. Yeah, she's enjoying herself, and
And that song fits it because it's like, I don't know much about something. I don't know much. It's like he doesn't know much about the Amish lifestyle, but he does know about like romance a bit. Well, how to
yeah,
romance her.
mm, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so there's that. I know you said the ending was a bit rushed. I feel like watching it the second time, or maybe even technically kind of the third time, compared to like the first time I watched it, I do feel like the ending maybe wasn't quite as abrupt as I thought I remembered it being. But so I just put here that I thought the final showdown at the farm wasn't. I thought it wasn't like. I feel like in some films, like there's a final showdown, and I feel like maybe it can sometimes go on for a bit too long, or suffer from like the typical tropes of like, I don't know, say the final, like the main antagonist being um, taking too long to kill or something like that. So it's like not as
Mhm.
realistic. Um, so I thought it wasn't unnecessarily long and drawn out with, and of course with John having spent all that time at the farm and having knowledge of that and the barn, and of course there's that scene earlier in the film where he sees the, is it the mill? Is it where the corn or whatever it is that?
Yeah, there is an
Uh,
earlier scene. Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of my
yes,
head,
that
but
sort of
yeah.
establishes that, and the fact that I suppose you could argue it's a bit of foreshadowing. So because he ends up
Mhm.
using that to his advantage to, you know, trap and suffocate the, is it the ginger one?
Yeah.
The ginger.
The scene when he's at the top of the mill, and you think that the bloke's going to shoot him with the shotgun, but he's looking up. Is he looking up the wrong mill? Is he looking up the wrong ladder, or can he just not see him because it's so dark at the top of the ladder?
I think he just couldn't see him because it was so dark, and he was trying to
Yeah,
be really quiet as well, even though he was kind of right up there. I
yeah.
think so. He was like, he
That was
got quite lucky there.
a pretty intense scene.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, so like I said, yeah, using his knowledge of the bond and its layout to his advantage, which I guess also helps, like you say, when he's able to shoot Danny Glover from like that hatch when he's
yeah,
just like I say, he's running and
yeah.
running at him. Um, and then, yeah, I'd said here that the scene where John and the police chief keep shouting at and over each other can come across as silly and unintentionally funny. Unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, I did like how, yeah. So John has a final goodbye with Samuel. Like they don't really say much, but he does. They're sat with each other, and he sort of puts his like um he's like nails on his hair or something like that. I don't know, just a bit of a, shows him a bit of affection, I guess. And then just gets up, and then he actually speaks Samuel and says goodbye. I think he just says goodbye, John Book or something. And he says goodbye, Samuel or something. It's a bit of a warm moment there. And then there's that scene with Rachel where I don't think they speak at all. I think it's like a sort of silent goodbye. But I thought it was, yeah, I thought it worked well. I thought it proved to be like a sort of powerful scene, and I feel like the soundtrack sort of playing again, like similar to that sort of ambient theme that we hear earlier in the film. Kind of, I feel like kind of carries that scene, that moment, um, and kind of adds to the weight of the scene, I guess, the importance of it and the impact.
Mhm.
Um, and then, of course, he's walking to his car and his and the old man or whatever. I'll just call him that. He says, like, basically says bye to him, and he says good. I think he says good luck, something like good luck with the English people or Englishmen or something like that. Um, just showing that he as well. He was wary of him at first, and he wasn't keen on him as well because of his I guess because of his job and his ways and whatnot. And but spent time with him. John he pulled his weight, which I think the barn scene and a few other scenes, I think, where the old man gets him to do a bit of work, like with the cows as well. Those scenes I think are important in showing him fitting in with the Amish, despite the fact that himself and the Amish come from different worlds, and but they're still able to they're both him and the Amish are able to do something, but they're both capable of doing the same thing and working together. So he's able to earn the respect in the process, even from those who were wary and perhaps jealous of him at first. You could argue that was it Rachel's? Well, the other person, the blonde man who seems to be interested in Rachel as well. You could argue perhaps he was kind of maybe jealous of him earlier on, especially looking at some of their interactions and the way they look at each other. But it seemed like he was starting to respect him when they were working together on the barn, and even giving him his glass of lemonade or whatever it was, or to Harrison Ford so he could have a bit of a sip of it. And yeah, I suppose all I've put apart from that is I feel like a lot of scenes are given time to breathe, despite the shorter run time, despite being below 2 hours, which I liked. And I appreciated as well the realistic nature of life on the farm, and just I guess showing a lot of that, and even like some of their character interactions, like I think of the scene where is it Rachel and the blonde haired man are sitting on the bench together, and he's really into her, but she isn't into him, and I think she kind of feels uncomfortable with him sat next to her too, and then John Brooks in the distance, and he just has a quick look at them and looks away, and then she's sort of more focused on him. And even I guess like the interactions with Rachel and John Book as well, like just all that tension and just the all the silent moments and body language, but it's still sort of they still tell you a lot, I guess, without speaking. And yeah, I think these character interactions you'd see in real life, it's realistic, and with seeing the awkwardness and the I guess maybe not being able to sort of think of much to talk about either. So yeah, I'd say overall, I'd say it was a good film, which I'd give an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, fair enough. Usually it's the other way around. Usually I'm giving the higher ratings, or you give the same rate. So it's nice that there's a film that you're giving the slightly higher rating to this time around.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to give it a 7.5, but I thought, no, I'll give it an 8. I think personally, I think it deserves an 8.
Fair enough. I get why people really like it. I get why it's got some very good reviews. It's just all the stuff I mentioned, that make it very good, but not necessarily great. But yeah, worth a watch. A unique film that Harrison Ford has been put in, because usually he's just playing like the strong, tough action guy, but in this film he's a bit more vulnerable. So yeah, good film. Give it a watch. Now on to some segments, unless you got anything else you want to say.
I was just going to quickly say I think it's good, but probably nothing more. I'd say good, yeah. But I still did enjoy it overall. So yeah.
All right, then let's get on to the. Right, so the new segments. I think you might like the new segment, but I've come up with an absolute. Oh, I've gone absolutely mad now with this. So let's get on to this segment then. So this segment involves me asking Liam or George how much it would take for them to do X, Y, Z. It can be anything. It can be something as simple as going, whoa! Or it can be something as mad as like flying to the moon naked with Bowser from Mario. And basically I say, All right, would you do it for £1? Yes. Sorry, £1 new. 2 quid new. 3 quid. Yes. So that's what it's. So it's about getting to the right price without going too high. So the question.
I don't like all this laughter. I really don't.
All right, now I'm just going to jump straight into it. So the yes, no for today is Liam. Every time Obi-Wan Kenobi goes, "Hello there," in Star Wars. So this is the new edition of Star Wars on Disney Plus. You can still buy the other editions on DVD, but on Disney Plus and the versions on TV, every time Obi-Wan goes, "Hello there." So that's Revenge of the Sith and the original New Hope, and in the show when he goes, "Hello there," in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Every time he goes, "Hello there," an AI video pops up of you, the AI video that George made of you kissing Shrek pops up. and then straight after that, it comes up with the parody. You know the Amadeus. You know that song. And on The Simpsons, you got Dr. Zayas. So it come with a parody of me going, Mr. Liam, Mr. Liam, Mr. Liam, Mr. Liam. Yes, new. Yes, new. What's wrong with me? I think you're lazy. Want a second opinion? You're also lazy. Mr. Liam, yes, new. So that probably lasts about a minute. How much money then to get that edited together? We'll start off at the reasonable minus £5.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I thought we were done with that. I thought we were done with all the Obi-Wan stuff, but okay.
No. It's so you're not kissing Obi-Wan. It's just him going hello there.
I know that, yeah, but still, I don't know.
Okay, I should have come up with a different scene. Anyway, it wasn't meant to be you and Obi-Wan doing anything peculiar. It was just
yeah.
The meme, hello there meme.
But it's something else that's George has concocted.
All right. I feel a bit bad for stooping to an Obi-Wan one, but I didn't think it was like a bad one. Anyway, all right. Honestly, I think minus £5 is pretty good. Like you get to be cemented in Star Wars.
Yeah, but there's not just that, is there? There's the George part.
There's the
and the George part is never good. Oh, yeah. The George part is never good.
All right. £50,000. Now, Liam, that's
wow. We jumped up pretty quick.
Yeah, because it is a bit of a difficult one, especially as a Star Wars fan, for you to do. But at least you could say to people, "Well, I got paid £50,000."
No.
100 grand. Bloody hell, 200 grand. Mate, you're turning down 200 grand just to have a little video of you in Star Wars. All right. 500 grand. Bloody hell, are you mad? Liam, do you know that is life-changing money? Bloody hell. 600 grand. 750 grand. 900 grand.
Nearly.
1.2 million.
Pretty much. I was going to say $1 million.
Okay, fair enough. Have you got any questions for me? Any stupid ones?
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head. Maybe I'll have to come up with something in future.
Yeah. I know George came up with a really
revenge.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, George came up with one. He kept saying minus 70 quid, minus 69 quid, minus 68 quid, minus 66, 67 quid, minus 66, minus 65. And I thought, all right, it's pretty funny, but come on, let's get to the real numbers now. You bloody bucktooth moron. But I guess it's a bit of a taste of my own medicine. But at least I say, minus 500 quid, minus 100 quid, minus 50 quid, minus 5 quid. At least I'll mix up the numbers. I won't just say 70, 69, 68, 67, 66, 65, 64, you know. All right, we're moving on to the new segment now. I think you'll like this one. Sorry, I was just replying to a message. So I think you'll like this one. It is called Generally Knowledgeable. So it's when I'll give you some general knowledge questions, and you have to just have an answer to them. You don't win anything, I guess. you know, you and George, if you and George were here, one person could do it, and then the other person could maybe be a lifeline for one of the questions, like, George, do you know the answer to this one? Or something, I don't know. Or maybe you could both partake. That'd probably make more sense. All right, then. So the first question is, which country is credited with inventing ice cream? Is it A, Iceland, B, China, C, America, D, Norway?
I don't know. I feel like it's between. Well, say that. I don't know. I feel like it's between Norway and Iceland. I'm going to say. I want to say Norway.
Final answer, yeah?
Yeah.
The answer is China.
Oh, okay.
So, to be honest, I don't know what I would have gone for because I already had the answers in front of me. There's an interesting way of thinking about it, isn't it? It's like you've got Iceland, which is cold. You've got Norway, which is cold. Iceland, ice cream. But is ice cream too obvious? Why would Iceland call something Iceland cream? Ice cream? It just doesn't. It sounds a bit weird. So then you've got Norway, which is another cold place. But you've got America, which is, as much as I rate and, you know, respect America, bit of a fat, unhealthy country, to be honest. And even people I know who've gone there who aren't like the cringy anti-America people. It's so easy to have a go at America when there's so many other countries that seriously violate people's human rights, but they never like get told off for it. But yeah, so as it's quite a fat, unhealthy country in some aspects, you could guess America, but it was actually China. And there is still an argument for, you could think in your head China like invented a lot of stuff, gunpowder. You know, they made so many different inventions. So yeah. Okay, the next question. What is the capital of Canada? Vancouver, Ottawa, Toronto, or Quebec?
So what? So it's Toronto, Quebec, Vancouver, and what was the other one?
Ottawa.
I feel like I should know this. I think is it Toronto?
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
Unfortunately, you are wrong. It is Ottawa. Very difficult one, to be honest.
It.
I would have gone for Vancouver because obviously I had the answer in front of me, but when I found this question, I always thought that Vancouver was the capital city because it was on Mario Kart. So I know that's a bit of a daft way of looking at it, but like you see how lit it is on Mario Kart. Usually on Mario Kart, they're always doing the capital cities, aren't they? They're doing like London, Madrid, Berlin. Did they do Amsterdam? I'm pretty sure.
They did.
I'm pretty sure.
But I think a lot of people. I bet a lot of people would think it's Vancouver, though. To be fair, because it's one of the more well-known cities, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff, happens there too. So.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have thought that the capital city would have been in like because is Ottawa Ontario or is it Quebec? I think it's Quebec, isn't it? The Quebec region. Could be wrong.
Is it not its own state?
Hold on, I'm going to go on maps and zoom out. Let's have a look.
I see. That's the thing. I was thinking it's either Toronto or it's Ottawa, and it was Ottawa. I had a feeling about Ottawa, but
it looks like it's split in. I don't know which one it is. It's like got a river and then a border. No, it looks like it's. It looks like it's either in the Quebec or Ontario. I'm a bit unsure. Okay. Oh, it's Ontario. It's Ontario. Oh, okay, but it's very close to Quebec, nonetheless. Right next to the border. No, not. Yeah, the Quebec region. But no, it is what it is. And next question: who is the movie? This is probably the hardest one. Who is the movie Actually, they're all pretty hard. Who is the movie Goodfellas based off? Is it A, Al Capone, B, The Craze, C, John Gotti, or D, Henry Hill?
Is it John Gotti? Final answer?
No, unfortunately not. It's Henry Hill. That was a hard one, to be honest. I
Okay.
just wanted to mix it up a bit, and I couldn't think of. I honestly just put this segment all together at the last second. I thought this could. I feel like after the feedback on the tier list segments, I thought maybe I should try and do something that Liam would like a bit more, and it's obviously a knowledgeable one that you'd enjoy. I was thinking of doing one that George would like more, but we all know what it would be. Something highly offensive, probably get the podcast banned, or bloody anime women in high school and all this weirdness. So I'm not turning the podcast into a load of degenerate rubbish. Well, this new podcast, I'm not turning it into that. So when he's already got segment C, George, like you were saying, this segment low, this segment average. I thought, oh, okay, let's try and come up with something more knowledgeable and brain training. But yeah, with this one, I already knew this one. I came up with the question. I didn't get off a website. I just thought, let's get some gangster films up. Maybe Liam might think there's loads already done on Al Capone. But then again, I think you would have been, I don't know, from your perspective, maybe you would have been thinking between like John Gotti and Henry Hill. Were those the main two that you would think? Oh, fair enough. Because Al Capone's already had a load of films made on him, and the Krays are English, so they're not going to be good fellas. Fellas is more like an American or Irish thing. But yeah, I already knew this years ago because Goodfellas is like my favourite film. And it is an interesting take on a gangster. He's not your typical like gangster who kills people. Well, are you ever going to watch it or?
I don't know. I mean, it's not a film I've been planning to watch, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything then. He's just an interesting take on a gangster. He's not your typical Scarface or Al Capone or John Gotti. He's definitely he's more nuanced and subverts expectations nicely, to be honest. I'm not saying the other gangsters aren't like typical gangsters in it. They are more what you'd expect from a gangster, but he himself is a bit more different. But yeah, what do you think of that new segment then? Generally knowledgeable.
Yeah, like I say, I like it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, so it's just like 3 questions then, isn't it? Yeah, 3 general knowledge questions.
Yeah. When it's you and George here, you could both do it, but you'd have to. I have a bad feeling George might cheat. If he knows something very obscure, I'd honestly, it's like legit or a bit. I feel like he's cheated at that. Like, I know it's a bit mean to say, but like the amount of times he said something bizarre and just said true. I'm thinking, hold on, you probably would have told us this stuff. I mean, he's a good liar, but like the amount of times he never got a legit or a bit sus. That's why I eventually changed the rules and obviously said it in a nice way. I was like, oh, it's because you're the legit or a bit champion. We need to confirm it and make sure it's done correctly. But in reality, it's like, mate, I think you're cheating. We need to make sure that you've actually put true or false. But even then, it could be rigged. If he said, I've gone to the moon and had a dance party with Doctor Who and flew back, and then he just sends true to the person. I'm like, how's this true? Yep, I won. It's like, so he could still technically cheat, but there's less chance of cheating. But yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't cheat, and maybe you guys could give me some questions. I don't know. Maybe you could be the question master, Liam, and you could give us a few questions. The next time it's me, you, and George on a show. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, could do. Yeah,
cool.
Sounds good.
I guess we'll nicely wrap that one up there. Then, any final messages or thoughts?
Just that it's been another good podcast. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, reviewing this film too, like Green Book. Looking forward to reviewing more films as well in the future.
Yeah, hopefully the next film is the 12 Monkeys. I'm hoping so. If you watch that soon and GC completes his watch of it and I'll complete my watch of it, hopefully we can either just do just me and you or me, you and George. But I do prefer reviewing these random films because the stories are more unique. While big franchise films, they're a little bit more predictable in some aspects. Like anything could have happened to John Book in this film, but in like Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you're watching Indiana Jones for the first time, unless you know that there's no other films, you pretty much know he's going to be fine by the end of it. Like, why would have they made 4 other films if Indiana Jones is completely fine? And a video game set in between. Is it in between 2 and 3 or 3 and 4? I don't know.
I don't know. Temple of Doom is set first, though, isn't it? I think
That's a
it's set before
prequel.
Raiders
Yeah,
of the
I
Lost
know,
Ark.
but they might not know that. Whoever's like looking into it, they might think there's 4 other sequels. He's clearly survived this whole thing.
But you're on about the new Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, what's it called?
It's called The Great Circle, isn't it? I think.
Cheese. When's it set?
I feel like it's set like during the original trilogy. I think
1937. Oh, so 1 year after the. Oh, so it's in between 1 and 3. Oh yeah, sorry, I got that wrong. With between 2 and 3, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, between Indiana Jones Raiders and Last Crusade. Interesting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to do these films which are more, like unpredictable, where we don't know what's going to happen to the characters. But obviously, there's still we don't have to do them all the time. But it's just nice to do these more like one-off films that don't have like 20 sequels.
Well, yeah, I guess I just like how this gets me to sort of maybe watch more films that perhaps I wouldn't have watched or chose to watch as well, or maybe chose to watch or when I was younger. So yeah, I feel like it sort of expands my tastes and horizons. So that's good.
Yeah, I'd love to do Forrest Gump and maybe even a few Tom Cruise films. That'd be quite interesting because originally when I watched the first Tom Cruise film I watched was The Firm, and I just thought to myself, mate, this geezer just plays parts where he's number one, he's the coolest bloke in the room, and everyone else is inferior. But then watching more of his films, I thought, bloody hell, this bloke's an amazing actor, man. He's been in so many brilliant films. Like, fair play to him, bro. He can act, man. He's bloody underrated. Better than Brad Pitt, I'd say. Better than Morgan Freeman. Probably better than Jack Nicholson. It's close between him and DiCaprio. I honestly prefer Tom Cruise. How many films has he been in that have been like 10 out of 10 in my opinion? Wolf of Wall Street, I don't know. Is it an objective 10 out of 10 really? It's one of my personal, well, it's probably my personal favorite film of all time, but is it really that good? It's up there. I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. It's difficult when you get to the top of the tree with the acting, with the actors and actresses. But all I'll say is he's towards the top of the tree, Tom Cruise. Bloody amazing.
It seems like he's got a lot of range as well. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, you got him playing samurais, you got him playing regular geezers, you got him playing like bums. You've got him playing like a agent in Mission Impossible. You got him playing Navy lawyer in A Few Good Men. You should watch A Few Good Men when you get a chance. That'd be another good one too. There's so many good ones that could be reviewed. I think you'd either find it boring or enjoy it. I found it boring on my first watch, but then my second watch, I thought it was brilliant. Jack Nicholson's hilarious, isn't it, man? It's one of those films where he has so many good lines, bro. He's so funny, and it's the same as good as it gets. His lines, they give him the best lines, and he delivers them like a champ. He made me chuckle so many times with his line delivery and the stupid things he was saying to people.
Yeah, no, I remember that A Few Good Men it was on, and I think I can't remember if I watched the whole thing or watched some of it, but I'm trying to think of whether I don't know whether like I was that into it that much, but
fair enough.
Maybe
you could skip that one then. But you sort of have to watch it the whole way through, like to get what's going on. But yeah. Anyway, I've waffled for enough. We'll leave that one there. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Have a good one. See you later. Peace.
Yeah.